A young boy enjoys a day at an amusement park with his mother. He laughs while riding the carousel, but his happiness ends when he realizes she is gone. He searches in panic and then experiences something worse. He loses the ability to see any face and faints. Doctors later diagnose him with prosopagnosia, a condition that prevents face recognition. The shock of losing his mother triggers the disorder. This is faceless love. Years pass. He grows into a tall and serious young man who works at his grandfather's company. Employees know him as Mr. Vikij. His manner is distant and cold. In another part of the city, Miran, a bright but slightly awkward woman, pedals her bicycle to deliver cakes. She graduated at the top of her class, yet she still has no steady job. Her mother and grandmother worry about her future. At the company, Vikij tells his cousin Chainin to find a new secretary and to move the interviews 1 hour earlier. This last-minute change leaves Miran, a candidate, rushing to make it in time. During the interview, Vikij meets her for the first time. She stumbles in, drops her papers, and faces his sharp criticism. He doubts her abilities. Miran stays calm and insists she can do the work. Vikij gives her a test in his office. He promises the job if she completes the task successfully. Later, Miran begins orientation with Chainin. He guides her through the building and makes light conversation. He mentions that he knows she changed her name on the application. The comment surprises her. Chainin explains that he remembers her because she has applied several times before. He hopes she succeeds this time. After their talk, Chainin helps her update her appearance. They adjust her hairstyle and clothing to create a more polished look. Miran returns home carrying shopping bags and tells her mother and grandmother that she has secured the job. They celebrate together. The next morning, Miran visits Vikij's office. He notices her updated style and a light new fragrance. The scent lingers as she stands before him. Vikij still cannot recognize her face. He tries to identify her through the perfume and steps closer without thinking. The sudden nearness makes her heart race. He gives her a simple but high-stakes task. She must prepare a cup of hot chocolate exactly to his taste or lose the job. Miran prepares the drink and serves it. Vikij takes a sip and pauses. The flavor matches the hot chocolate his mother once made, a taste he has missed for years. He finishes the cup with quiet satisfaction. None of his previous secretaries ever matched the recipe. Curious, he asks where she learned it. She explains that her mother taught her. When he offers to buy the recipe, she refuses, calling it a family secret. Intrigued, he asks her to make another cup to see if she can repeat the result. After she serves the second cup, Vikij assigns her to memorize key documents for the company party that evening. When she leaves the room, he and Chainin quickly finish the remaining hot chocolate. Later, while Miran works in her office, Vikij and Chainin enter with shirts stained from a spill. They change clothes in front of her and offer a brief apology for the interruption. As evening approaches, Vikij helps Miran choose a gown and lingers on her face with quiet interest, tracing her features to memorize them. Later that night, they arrive together at the company party, where Vikij gives a brief welcome speech before greeting guests, relying on voices rather than faces to recognize who speaks to him. Earlier, he had asked Miran to stay near him and quietly identify each guest. She remains at his side throughout the evening, stepping onto the podium when needed and helping him manage the introductions. Later, Vikij meets an honored guest who plans to invest in the company. As the woman prepares to leave, she takes offense at a casual remark Miran makes about her sister's earrings.
แต่ว่าหนักเอาเรื่องเลยนะคะนี่ขนาดเล็กที่สุดแล้วนะ
Upset, the guest withdraws her plan to invest. Vikij reacts sharply. He blames Miran for the lost deal and criticizes her appearance and sense of style. Miran apologizes and admits her mistake but feels hurt by his words. Chainin follows Miran to comfort her. She stands on a bridge, releasing her frustration in a quiet outburst. By chance, Vikij passes and rushes to her side, worried she might be in danger. He finds her shouting into the night air, venting her anger. Startled by his sudden approach, Miran slips. Vikij grabs her arm and keeps her from falling. In the confusion, Chainin calls out Miran's real name. Vikij, puzzled, asks why Chainin used that name since he believes his secretary is Nia Romfan. Chainin grows angry at the question. They argue until Miran steps between them and calms the situation. Chainin offers to take her home. On the way, Chainin apologizes for his outburst. Miran assures him she is not upset, noting his consistent kindness. Back at the house, Vikij waits to speak with Chainin. He intends to apologize but ends up in another argument when Chanin urges him to show respect to Mirin and every employee. Chanin's mother, Soifit, overhears and tells Vikij to leave. She later advises Chanin to start his own company, pointing out that he has been running the business while Vikij takes credit. She also suggests hiring Mirin if she proves her talent. The next morning, Mirin arrives early at the office, worried that Vikij will dismiss her. He does not appear. Unsure where to look, she guesses he might be at the amusement park. She finds him there, riding the carousel alone. She joins him, and he asks how she knew to find him. She gives a brief answer. He forgives her and says her job is safe. They ride together for a while, then sit on a park bench. Vikij shares the story of losing his mother there as a child. Moved by his words, Mirin begins to cry. As they buy ice cream, their connection deepens. Vikij teases her gently, and she blushes at his playful remarks. During the ride home, he falls asleep on her shoulder, leaving her quietly nervous yet unable to move. The next morning Vikij asks Mirin to meet Thanya to discuss business. Thanya refuses to talk with her and demands to meet Vikij instead. Irritated by the dismissive attitude, Mirin leaves the restaurant. Vikij follows and quietly reassures her not to worry about Thanya's behavior.
เวลาที่โดนคนอื่นดูถูกหรือว่าเหยียดหยามอะฉันไม่อยากให้ใครมาดูถูกเธออีก
After leaving, Vikij and Mirin go to her house to bake a cake. The house is dark and silent, suggesting her mother and grandmother are asleep. In the dim light they bump into each other and fall. The lights switch on. Mirin's mother and grandmother enter and are shocked to see them so close, especially Vikij, whom they consider impolite. Mirin quickly explains that Vikij is her boss and that he only came to taste her cake. The story shifts to the past. Mirin's mother has been helping Vikij's mother, Nia Romfan, who suffers from memory loss. Mirin and her mother care for her in secret. Nia Romfan asks them not to tell Vikij or his family about her condition or location. Back in the present, Vikij's visit worries Nia Romfan. She fears he might discover the truth. She lives in a church, and Mirin often visits on weekends. On this visit Mirin brings a cake and happily tells her that she has mastered the hot chocolate recipe Nia Romfan once shared. The next day during a meeting, Soifit blames Mirin for the loss of a potential investor. Vikij defends her and promises to secure a new partner. After the meeting, Soifit privately asks Mirin where she heard the name Nia Romfan, noting it is the same name as Vikij's mother. Mirin simply replies that her own mother gave her the name. Later, while Mirin and Vikij meet potential investors, Chanin arrives and notices Vikij holding Mirin's hand. He shows clear jealousy. Chanin meets Thanya and invites her to invest in Next Innovation, hinting that it could bring her closer to Vikij. Sensing his growing ambition, she listens carefully. Meanwhile, Mirin and Vikij begin their own search for an investor named Noi. They first approach the wrong person but stay focused and keep looking with only limited information. The next morning Mirin delivers cakes to Auntie Noi, a regular customer. She is surprised to see Auntie Noi dressed elegantly and leaving in a luxury car. The sight makes her suspect that this woman might be the owner of the company called Big Noi. Mirin follows the car and confirms that Auntie Noi is indeed the investor they need. Excited, she invites Auntie Noi to consider investing in their company. At first Auntie Noi declines, but after hearing about the app Vikij created, she agrees to meet with them in 2 days. The following morning Mirin tells Vikij about the breakthrough. He is pleased and begins preparing a detailed investment proposal. While they work on the presentation, Vikij explains how to build a strong pitch. Mirin listens closely, drawn to his calm and confident manner. Lost in thought, she startles when he speaks to her. She admits she is impressed by the way he presents ideas. Their connection deepens as he gently touches her face, trying to read her features, which makes her blush. Meanwhile, at home, Chanin tries to learn more about Big Noi. He overheard Mirin mention the name at the office and asks his staff to investigate. Later, in Vikij's office, Mirin grows tired and falls asleep at her desk. Vikij quietly approaches and looks at her face. He softly says that seeing her smile would be wonderful. After he leaves, Mirin opens her eyes, having heard every word, and feels her affection for him grow. The next morning Vikij and Mirin visit Auntie Noi. The meeting is difficult at first. Big Noi rejects the app and hesitates to invest. Vikij then shares his struggle with face blindness and explains how it inspired him to create the application.
ผมคือคนป่วยคนหนึ่งครับเสื้อผ้ารูปร่างผมไม่รู้เลยครับว่าใครรู้สึกยังไง
Moved by his story, Mirin begins to cry. Vikij notices her tears and gently wipes them away. Seeing his sincerity, Auntie Noi agrees to consider their proposal and promises to contact him if she decides to invest. After leaving her home, Vikij and Mirin feel even closer. Mirin thinks of him often, even during meals. Her mother and grandmother warn her not to become too attached, worried that if Vikij learns she has been hiding the truth about Nia Romfan's whereabouts, he will be deeply hurt. The next morning Miran decides to help Vikij smile more easily. She knows he struggles to read expressions and rarely smiles himself. Using a small button as a guide, she shows him how to practice. In the middle of the lesson he grows serious and asks if she will ever leave him. He admits he would feel lost without her and jokes that he loves her hot chocolate too much to let her go. Meanwhile, Chainin studies Big Noi. Now aware that the investor is a woman, he plans to approach her on his own. The growing closeness between Vikij and Miran stirs jealousy in both Chainin and Thanya. Thanya begins to plot against Vikij at the upcoming shareholders meeting, determined to block his success. The investor meeting arrives. Miran feels tense because Auntie Noi has not confirmed her attendance. Thanya and Chainin reach the office early and mock Vikij and Miran for failing to bring an investor. Inside the boardroom, Soifat also criticizes Vikij, claiming he relies too much on Chainin. Vikij stays calm and assures his grandfather he will secure support. As the meeting drags on and hope fades, Auntie Noi appears. Vikij's grandfather welcomes her and invites her to join. Vikij proudly introduces her as the owner of Big Noi, the investor he has brought to the company. His grandfather immediately selects her as the project's partner. Thanya and Chainin leave disappointed. Shaken by Thanya's earlier words, Miran slips out and goes to the rooftop to collect herself. Chainin, frustrated and feeling overlooked, follows. They discover the door has locked behind them and must wait for help. While waiting, they talk about Vikij. Chainin admits he never wanted to hurt him and views him as a younger brother. Vikij soon arrives and unlocks the door. He asks Miran to make another cup of hot chocolate. Watching their easy interaction, Chainin feels a sharp surge of jealousy and a growing desire to win Miran's affection. Later that day Miran falls asleep in Vikij's office after long hours of work. Vikij quietly moves her head to rest on his shoulder and studies her face for a few silent moments. When an employee enters, he pulls away quickly, and Miran wakes. Elsewhere, Soifat's investigator gathers Miran's personal details from her job applications. Suspecting something hidden, Soifat orders further surveillance. The investigator follows Miran to a church and secretly photographs her with another woman. At the church Miran tells Nia Romfan she plans to resign because she feels unworthy after keeping a secret. Nia Romfan urges her to stay, convinced that Miran is the right person to remain by Vikij's side and support him. The next day Miran continues to help Vikij with his work. He appears more relaxed and happier with her support. During a meeting, tension rises when Chainin accuses Vikij of creating the app only to find his missing mother. Miran tries to calm Vikij, but he snaps in frustration and makes her cry. She leaves the room in tears. Moments later he follows, hears her sobs, and apologizes, promising not to hurt her again. They spend the rest of the day together at an amusement park. They try several rides and walk near the carousel. Vikij suddenly confesses his feelings and asks her to be his girlfriend. When he turns around, Miran is no longer beside him. Panic takes over as memories of his childhood loss return. He calls her name until she answers. He runs to her and hugs her tightly, terrified of losing her again.
มิลิน อย่าหายไปแบบนี้อีก
She had slipped near the edge of a ride and become separated from him. The next morning Vikij worries when he cannot reach her. He finds a note with the hot chocolate recipe she left for him and tells Chainin he still has no contact. They set out to find her. Chainin visits Miran's house and learns from her mother that she is away. When Vikij finally sees Miran, he is upset that she disappeared without warning. Miran bursts into tears, hugs him, and apologizes for making him panic. That night Thanya and Soifat present photos showing Miran with Nia Romfan, who has been missing for years. Chainin is surprised by the images, and Soifat reveals that Nia Romfan is Vikij's mother. Chainin remains calm and refuses to think badly of Miran. Later, on a bridge, Miran tries to share her secret with Vikij. When she begins to speak, he believes she is about to confess her love. Caught off guard, she hesitates. Vikij suddenly kisses her and holds her close, saying he does not want to hear anything more because he never wants to lose her. Miran cannot bring herself to reveal the truth about his mother. The next morning Vikij picks her up before work. They are now a couple, though Miran feels uneasy about their relationship at the office. Chainin sees them hugging and feels a sharp mix of jealousy and anger. He begins to consider Thanya's plan to reveal Miran's secret at the upcoming investor party. At the same time, Vikij grows frustrated as progress on his app stalls, with programmers focusing on Chainin's project and leaving key details unfinished. In the pantry, Thanya confronts Miran and accuses her of chasing Vikij for money. Vikij steps in, scolds Thanya, and leads Miran away. He assures Miran that he will protect her from anyone who tries to hurt her. Miran quietly tells him to repeat those words after Sunday, when she plans to reveal the secret she has been keeping. She hopes his feelings will remain the same once he learns the truth. The day of the new investor welcome event arrives. Miran searches for Vikij, but when it is time for the greeting speech, Chanin unexpectedly takes his place. Confused, she looks everywhere for him. In his office, Vikij holds several photos showing his mother with another woman. When Miran enters, he throws the photos toward her in anger. He accuses her of being the woman with his mother, pointing to her clothing in the pictures as proof. Though the faces are unclear, he believes it is her and feels betrayed. During the reception, Chanin becomes the center of attention. Investors approach him with business cards and offers for future deals. That night Miran returns home in tears. Her mother and grandmother ask what happened, and she explains that Vikij has discovered the secret she kept hidden. At the company, Chanin argues with his grandfather, who criticizes him for letting Vikij disappear during the event. Feeling slighted and jealous, Chanin grows more resentful and meets with Thanya to plan their next move. Elsewhere, Miran continues to cry, replaying the moment when Vikij shouted at her. She decides to call him and asks him to meet her mother, promising to accept his judgment after the meeting. Vikij refuses to see her and ignores her calls. He only requests the address where his mother is staying. At the same time, Soifit sends someone to take Nia Romfan from the church, but the visitor learns that she left several days earlier. Vikij finally reunites with his mother at a hospital, the address Miran provided. He is shocked to see that she no longer recognizes him. A nurse explains that Nia Romfan has Alzheimer's disease and describes how Miran's family has cared for her. She also shares that Nia Romfan chose to stay away so she would not burden or disappoint her son. Hearing this, Vikij understands the truth and resolves to care for his mother himself. The company falls under Chanin's control after their grandfather grants him temporary authority, thinking Vikij needs time away. Chanin instructs his secretary Use to clear Vikij's office so he can move in. Soon after, Miran delivers cakes to Auntie Noi and learns that Vikij is missing and Chanin is now in charge. Alarmed, she heads to the office to confront him. When she enters his office, Chanin says he is only taking what has always belonged to him. Miran accuses him of sending the photos to Vikij. He does not deny it and claims he only wanted to reveal the truth. He then asks Miran to work for him and forget Vikij, admitting his feelings for her. That night Vikij visits Miran's house to learn how to make hot chocolate for his mother, hoping it might help her remember. Miran agrees and carefully guides him through the recipe that Nia Romfan taught her. After preparing the drink, Vikij falls asleep from exhaustion. Miran tidies the table and notices his notebook. She opens it and finds entries about her, recalling the moments they have shared. The next morning Vikij joins Miran, her mother, and Auntie Noi for breakfast. They discuss the company's future. Auntie Noi warns him not to act recklessly and reminds him not to lose Miran or the next innovation business through selfish choices. Vikij listens and begins to speak to Miran with new warmth, though some awkwardness lingers. Meanwhile, at a restaurant, Chanin meets Thanya and proposes a partnership. He asks her to become the sole shareholder of Next Innovation and to support his plan to become the next CEO. Later, Vikij and Miran visit the hospital to make hot chocolate for Nia Romfan, hoping the familiar taste will bring back her memory. Even after drinking it, she does not recognize him. Vikij weeps as he faces her condition, and Miran hugs him in quiet support. While they watch news reports of Chanin being nominated as acting CEO, a nurse calls to say Nia Romfan is missing from her room. Vikij rushes to find her and discovers her in the hospital garden speaking with a child. When he calls to her, she suddenly remembers him. They embrace with relief. In that moment Vikij's prosopagnosia disappears. He sees his mother's face clearly, and Nia Romfan fully remembers her son. Miran watches the reunion with tears in her eyes. Vikij walks to her, looks closely at her face, and holds her in a long embrace. He can now clearly see the faces of the people he loves, including Miran. Vikij brings his mother to live with him and promises to care for her. He also prepares to challenge Chanin and reclaim his position at the company. With Miran's steady support, he plans his return and listens to her advice to reconcile with Chanin, knowing that Chanin once treated him like a younger brother and now has strong backing. The next morning Chanin calls an emergency meeting to announce himself as CEO of Next Innovation and to propose Vikij's dismissal. Vikij arrives before the vote and faces the shareholders directly. At first the board leans toward Chanin. Vikij apologizes for his past mistakes and promises to accept criticism and guidance from both investors and colleagues. He asks for a second chance to lead the company. His grandfather is moved by the speech and supports his return. The shareholders agree, reinstating Vikij as CEO because he secured Big Noi as a key investor. Soifit is furious. She believes Chainin deserves credit for managing the company during the crisis and feels betrayed by her father's decision. Chainin, feeling overlooked, leaves the room. Vikij explains to his grandfather where he has been and shares the news that he has reunited with his mother and recovered from prosopagnosia. His grandfather is overjoyed. In Chainin's office, Thanya meets with Soifit to discuss how to attack Vikij's reputation. They plan to damage the app he created. Chainin overhears and grows angry when he learns his mother has been spying on Mirin and involving her in their schemes. He refuses to follow their plan and walks out. Later, Vikij and Chainin meet by chance in an elevator. They speak openly. Vikij urges Chainin to stop actions that hurt others and reminds him of the bond they once shared as brothers. Soon after, a serious crisis hits. News breaks that data from Vikij's app has leaked, causing massive financial losses. Chainin is shocked and immediately confronts Thanya, certain she is responsible. Thanya admits she intended to ruin Vikij so Chainin could start a new company with her financial support. Chainin rejects the idea, angry and disappointed in her and his mother. Vikij and Chainin then meet with their grandfather. When Chainin offers to help fix the breach, their grandfather accuses him of being involved. The accusation cuts deeply. Chaos spreads as shareholders demand Vikij's resignation and users protest outside the company. To ease tensions, he agrees to step down and lets Chainin take over. At the press conference, Vikij formally announces his resignation. When Chainin begins to speak, Thanya steps forward and declares him the new CEO of Next Innovation, insisting he will resolve the crisis. Afterward, Mirin meets Chainin in private. She knows he is not behind the sabotage but feels disappointed that he allowed the turmoil to continue to satisfy others instead of making his own choices. Vikij leaves the company without regret. He spends his days with Mirin and his mother, grateful for their support through every challenge. Mirin stays close, sharing both his quiet moments and his plans for the future. They visit Auntie Noi, who agrees to help Vikij find foreign investors and asks Mirin to assist with the proposal. Soon after, while Vikij prepares lunch for his mother, he is pleased to hear Mirin's update about Auntie Noi's support. During a counseling session, Vikij learns the source of his mother's trauma. Nia Romfan explains that Soifit once treated her cruelly, leaving lasting scars.
ออกจากบ้านนี้ซะแบบนี้เลยพี่ฉันไม่ใช่พี่
A few days later, Nia Romfan feels stronger and shares more of her past. She reveals that Chainin was once their grandfather's favorite grandchild, but when Vikij was born the affection shifted to him because he was the grandson of the only son, making him the natural heir to the family company. Meanwhile, Chainin works to repair the damage from Thanya's sabotage, with Yuz helping him search for solutions. Vikij enjoys peaceful days with Mirin. He waits for her to return from a meeting with Yuz and then invites her for a short walk before they head home. The next morning, Chainin calls a meeting at their grandfather's request. Their grandfather announces an internal investigation to resolve the company's problems. Thanya refuses the decision and openly challenges him. Suddenly, the grandfather suffers a heart attack. The room erupts in panic as people rush to give first aid. Thanya smiles coldly, revealing her ambition to take control of the company by using Chainin as her pawn. At the hospital, Vikij arrives to see his grandfather. Chainin breaks down, blaming himself for the collapse and feeling he has failed in every way. Recognizing their mistakes, Vikij and Chainin reconcile. They agree to work together to save the company. Mirin is relieved to see them united again. Chainin tells Vikij about Thanya's plan with the programmers to leak the app's data. Vikij shares that their grandfather had already warned him about Thanya's ambition to seize control of the company. Determined to protect their family and business, Vikij vows not to let her succeed. The next morning, Vikij, Mirin, Chainin, and Yuz gather to organize documents and plan their counterattack. A light moment eases the tension when Mirin encourages Vikij and Yuz playfully copies her by cheering for Chainin. Their laughter breaks the stress of the day. By midday, hired demonstrators fill the company building to demand compensation. The protest is part of Thanya's plan to create chaos. Thanya calls a meeting with the executives and urges them to remove Vikij and Chainin. She claims most of the company's shares and offers herself as the new CEO, insisting she is more capable than either man. As the executives begin to agree, Vikij and Chainin hold an unplanned press conference. They apologize for the turmoil and promise to stabilize the company. They also present evidence of Thanya's crimes, exposing her actions to the public. Thanya's scheme collapses. Her influence fades as the executives reject her claims. With the crisis resolved, Vikij and Chainin return to lead the company. Mirin and Yuz celebrate their success by bringing chocolate cake and oranges. Soifit finally recognizes how deeply she has wronged Nia Romfan. She asks for forgiveness and apologizes to Vikij, allowing the family to begin healing. A few days later, Vikij is happier than ever when his mother moves back to their grandfather's house to live with him. Vikij and Miran grow closer. He takes her to an amusement park and, after finding the right moment, proposes to her as a sign of lasting love. Miran accepts with joy, ending their long journey together on a hopeful note. So the moral of the story is, if you keep secrets and stir up drama, you might end up running a company one day, but you will still need hot chocolate and forgiveness to fix everything.